In this video, we're going to analyze a Bode plot and try to figure out what the transfer function was given the graph that we have. As usual, we're only going to deal with the straight line approximation of the graph in order to talk about it, but in reality, again, you would see a more correct actual graph. It's a little bit smoother than what we have here. Now, we know that since it's starting out flat, right, since it's flat here at the beginning, there's going to be no terms that are just j omega, right, to the end there. That's not going to happen. And from that, we can then find, with what the flatness is, we can find what the k is. So we know 20 log of k is just 20. So that means my k is going to be 10 here. So for my h of j omega, it's going to start out with a k of 10. And then what I'll do is I'll go to each point where the graph changes, and that tells us the break frequency, and we can figure out what the term's going to be. So the first time it changes is going to be right here. And maybe it's not perfect, but we can kind of assume that's going to happen at a break frequency of 0.1. And we see it goes from flat to a slope of negative 20 decibels. That means our term is going to be on the bottom. And it's going to be 1 plus j omega over the break frequency, so 1 plus j omega over 0.1. Next place that it changes is going to be right here, which it's somewhere between 0.1 and 1. And if we look up, we can tell it's going to be at 0.5 there. And it goes from a negative 20 slope to a 0 flat slope. So that means we had to add 20 to the slope, so it's going to be in the numerator. So it's going to be 1 plus j omega over 0.5. That gets us the second change on the graph. The third change is somewhere between 1 and 10. And in particular, we see that it's going to be at 3 there. And it goes from being flat to being a negative 20 slope, so it's going to be in the bottom. So 1 plus j omega over 3. And we have one more change on our graph. This is where it goes from negative 20 down to negative 40 slope. And we can see where this is happening here. So if we know this is 10, this looks like maybe it's 12. Not drawn for us there, but we'll just assume that this is going to be at 12. And we know that since it's going from negative 20 to negative 40, the slope is lowering by 20. It's going to be on the bottom. So 1 plus j omega over 12. And these are all the places that it changes. So this is our final transfer function. And I can rewrite a little bit nicer here. It would be 10 times 1 plus j omega over 0.5. over 1 plus j omega over 0.1 times 1 plus j omega over 3 times 1 plus j omega over 12. And that right there is the transfer function that will get you this Bode plot.